Welcome back to Cask and Points. Today we're going to be trying something that I was really looking forward to trying, but after learning something new, I'm not nearly as excited about it as I once was, and today I was able to get my hands on a sample, so we're going to try it here together. So a few years ago, the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection was started, and it was started with the 17-year that was absolutely incredible. It was 118.2 proof, and many believe to be the best Heaven Hill product release in the last 10 years. They followed it up with an 18-year at 115 proof that people really liked. Some liked as much as the 17-year, some liked even more. Most people liked it a little bit less, but it was still really solid. Last year they dropped a 20-year. It was 120 proof, so statistically incredibly impressive, but a very high corn mash bill that most people didn't really jive with, but it was okay, and while many didn't really care for it, people still really lined up to pay MSRP on it, and it still had quite a strong secondary market. For their 4th edition in 2025, they were releasing a wheat whiskey. And when I first did my top 5 whiskeys I'm excited about in 2025, I mentioned how that whiskey was 122 proof. Now, that is what the TBB regulations said, and the way whiskey works is you have to report your label to TBB, but the thing is, the proof doesn't have to be accurate, because people are usually going and filing those things before they're bottling the whiskey, and so since TBB knows that the proof can change just slightly over the course of the few weeks or months it may take to process that application, they don't require that proof to be entirely accurate. And so many times people put in a placeholder. For example, there's a new Jack Daniels coming out. There's some like Tanner rye that's coming out, and it right now has a placeholder of 80 proof, but it was announced to be cask strength, and I think this is supposed to compete with Coy Hill bourbon. We'll see how it does. We'll talk about that more in a future video. But anyways, the 122 proof Heaven Hill 19-year wheat whiskey was something in just statistic I was incredibly excited about. However, something recently changed, and I started seeing all these reviews, and it turns out it's 100 proof. It's not 122 proof. Now, we've seen 115, 118.2, and 120 proof, so 122 seemed totally in line. 100 proof, though, is a little bit surprising, and I'm not exactly sure why it's 100 proof. I'm not sure why Heaven Hill watered it down, but today we're going to try it and kind of find out what we think, because I was initially incredibly excited at a 122 proof 19-year wheat whiskey, but now that it's 100 proof, it may just not be nearly as impressive. So we're going to find out here. Let's get right into it here. Now, my first glass here does have a little bit of Heaven Hill 18 in it, provided by a good buddy of mine named Colin, so thank you, Colin, for sharing your incredible collection with me. We're just going to do this as kind of a warm-up, just to really remind us how good these heritage collections have been. To me, this is my second favorite. I like Heaven Hill 17 the most. I like Heaven Hill 20 the least. And so thought I'd throw this in as kind of the run-of-the-mill. I think this is a solid Heritage Collection bottle, and then we'll see just how good the 19 stacks up. Yeah, on the nose here, you're going to get some pretty rich caramel, some pretty rich dark oak molasses. Definitely a good amount of cherry as well on this. Honestly, it kind of just smells like a slightly older, slightly more refined C923 with a lot less power on it. Very solid. Still pretty reminiscent of C923 to me. There is quite a bit of spice on it as well. Very refined, very oaky, very rich. Very good whiskey. A whiskey that I'm not really running out to buy at $400 or $500 secondary, but at MSRP, which I believe was around $250 to $300, pretty reasonable. I think 18-year, pretty standard Heaven Hill here. I believe it's the exact same mash bill as the Elijah Craig's. Or the 17 or the 18-year, one of those had the exact same mash bill as the Elijah Craig's. I'll put it on your screen. But it's very solid. I mean, that to me is about an 8.3. I think it's solid. I think it's slightly overpriced. Both in MSRP, definitely in secondary, but it's really not bad at all. Pretty solid, pretty old Heaven Hill. But let's see just how good the 19-year compares. On the nose here, there's a lot more wheat funk to it. Definitely getting a good amount of pepper, a good amount of spice on this. Not really getting any vanilla. It's a little caramel corn, but it's not actually super wheat forward. It's kind of just oaky and a little bit leathery. I might be disappointed by this. Let's try it. That's it?
What? What the
What? So it starts with a little bit of leather and oak, and a little bit of wheat funk, a little bit of caramel, pepper, all that. It just dies. It just totally dies. What the heck? Wow. Yeah, that's as disappointing as I was expecting. It's actually much more disappointing than I was expecting. Wow. It's just nothing special. It's just really nothing special. I mean, this bottle is going to retail for over $300. And I was able to get a sample of this because a buddy of mine was buddies with somebody that got a media sample. And so a lot of these companies send like 100 ml or 200 ml bottles to their media list. And obviously it's a bottle that they can't really resell, and they're not really going to resell, but they can use it for reviews, for comparison, stuff like that. And obviously I hope to get on a lot of these media lists in the future. And I love Heaven Hill, and I actually have talked to Max Shabir a few times. I consider him a friend, although we don't keep up too much. But yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe it'll keep me off the Heaven Hill media list a little bit longer. I'm not sure. But I'm sorry, that's, I like a lot of Heaven Hill. I like really a lot of Heaven Hill, and that one, to me, that 100 proof is just totally killing it. And I'm sure there have been some reviews posted already since the media samples have gone out, and, you know, obviously YouTubers really like to be the first to post these kinds of things. But I imagine a lot of people might tell you that this is a really positive release. They're lying. I'm trying to look past and I'm trying to say, you know, I know all palates are different, but my palate appreciates flavor, unfortunately, and not sure if I'm getting a lot of that on this. I'll take the second sip here. Now, I didn't have that much. I mean, this was a media sample that some guy shared with some guy that wasn't in media, and then that guy shared it with me, and so I inevitably only got about ½ ounce here to share with you guys. I'm really excited that I got to try it, and, you know, I got this today, and I had to share it with you guys, but I expected better. Let's take this final sip here. We only have 2 sips. And let's give some more final comments. We'll go back to the HH18. We'll make sure we're not too crazy saying that this is all that bad. Let's see. So I will say on the nose, a little bit of red fruit did open up. On the palate, a little bit more rich, dusty oak opened up. It's not awful. It's not great. It's definitely drinking slightly overproof, and I will say that second sip was significantly better than the first sip. Still wasn't all that good. Still wasn't worth $300 to me. I think I'd take a lot of bottles over that. I mean, something like Parker's DBB is like taking this and absolutely blowing it out of the water. Like, it's not even close how much better that one is. But even HH18, which I haven't been the biggest fan of, and I've said kind of mediocre given what it is. I mean, it's just an incredible bottle of whiskey, you know, better than pretty much all the Elijah Craig batches and all that good stuff of recent times. But considering I'm viewing it as a $300 MSRP, $450 secondary, I expect more out of HH18. And HH18, I think, is totally blowing this HH19 out of the water. I mean, really, I don't know why it's 100 proof. Very disappointed that it's 100 proof. And it's still pretty flat. And you do have some really weird wheat funk to it. Now, hopefully one day I'll get to try this against one of the Parker's wheated releases and see if those Parkers have a similar wheat funk to it. I am not the most familiar with Heaven Hill. I've tried the Heritage Collections, but I haven't really tried many of the Parker's releases. We'll do some reviews on Parker's pretty soon, because I was actually able to score a bottle of the Double Barrel Blend back there. So you bet I'm going to want to try to crack that pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty disappointing, honestly. I expected more. Let's try the HH18. Let's just make sure I'm not too crazy here. But on our initial ranking, I'm in the 7s. Yeah, a lot more richness on that. A lot more fruit on that. A lot more oak on that. Just a lot more going on. Drinks much hotter. There's a lot more flavor, a lot more caramel, a lot more red fruit, and still a lot more of that like tobacco, leather kind of thing that you're getting off the 19. It just totally outclasses it to me. Now, I do hope we'll get to sit down with this again at some point, maybe have a much bigger sample than, you know, kind of like a third, ½ an ounce on there. But honestly, I'm pretty disappointed in that release. I think on a first go, I'm hoping things change. I'm hoping Heaven Hill realizes that they should bottle it at 122 proof, and I hope it's not bottled yet. Probably already been bottled, probably going to release sometime soon, probably going to be 100 proof, and I'm probably going to be really disappointed in it. But yeah, that's the release. I tend to like to bring good bourbon news, but we have to be honest sometimes. It's just not it for me. Definitely, once you guys get to try it, if you tried it already, definitely let me know down below in the comments. This is not a release I'm excited about. This is a release that I was really excited about. It was number 2 on my list of all the releases, but now Jack Daniel's is number 1, and it's number 1 by so much. I cannot wait for this 126 proof 14-year Jack Daniel's, but this 100 proof 19-year Heaven Hill really just not up my alley. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all had some fun. Hope you all learned something. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I hope to catch you all in the next one.